And welcome back to another week here on the Big Man's Report on News Talk 1492.3 WOND. We are live from Hard Rock Studios. I am your host, Blake Roselle. Thank you all for joining me for another week on the show. I hope everyone had a great week. Looking forward to this lovely Memorial Day weekend. I think the weather's supposed to hold off the rest of the weekend. I think today's looks supposed to be a nice day, and Sunday and Monday. So we'll be able to enjoy that beach weather that we've all been waiting for. If you didn't listen to my show last week, it is posted on my Instagram at the Big Man's Report _live and on Facebook at Blake Roselle. You can listen to my exclusive interview with media production team, Half Pint Productions, with their owner and filmmaker, Dan Hollingsworth, who has been having that company for some time now, and he's really successful and what he's doing with the schools and being able to film all the football games and the basketball games, baseball games, and we're delighted to have him in the school community to be able to do such a wonderful thing for the kids. And also he has a passion for it as well. So my hat off to you, Dan, for your continued success and all that you're doing. And I'm looking forward to having you back here on the program in the weeks to come. So Mr. Dan Hollingsworth, everyone, with Half Pint Productions. You can find him on YouTube at Half Pint Productions and also at Dan Hollingsworth on Facebook and Instagram. You can find him on there as well. So this week on the show, I want to give a little bit of background information, but before we do, I do want to give my condolences to the sad situation that occurred this week down in Uvalde, Texas, with the school shooting of those poor elementary kids. And, I just want to say a few words and, give my prayers and condolences to the families that were involved. And it's such a horrible thing that, this world, you don't like to think about it because, it makes you emotional when you think about kids and just in general, when you think about anyone losing life, an innocent life for no reason, so we want to say that our prayers are with those families and with those kids. And we look forward to, hopefully cleaning some things up in this world and we can kind of live in peace and get back to, being true Americans and having each other's back and all that good stuff. Like I said, me I don't get political, but I just want to make sure that, we all kind of unite in this kind of environment, in this kind of situation. And again, my condolences to those kids down in Uvalde, Texas. And also one of the great actors of a couple years back. And let's just say we're going back 15, 20, 25, 30 years of acting. Mr. Ray Liotta has passed away at the age of 67 down in the Dominican Republic. Unfortunately, it's a sad situation for his family and those that were close to him and all of us as viewers and who loved his movies. His famous movies, Goodfellas, which is one of my dear favorites that I watch over and over and over. What a great actor and a talent that he was, and he will surely be missed and by many. And also, his legacy will live on through his movies and his acting career. So R.I.P. to Mr. Ray Liotta, one of a kind. So this week again on the program, if I would like to introduce in a couple minutes, but first I'd like to talk about the world of sports reporting and sports journalism. Okay, now it's funny because I personally went to school for communications, and I've always loved this. Obviously, being a college basketball player and baseball player, I love the sports industry. I love everything about sports. You talk about NFL, NBA. You talk about the MLB, you name it, even college sports is so competitive. And it's a great thing to experience and to watch and to be a part of as well as an athlete. But I've always had a passion for sports reporting. And today on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the sports reporting world and sports journalism, and also talk about a little TV producing. And I think it's an unbelievable industry to get into, and it's becoming so, popular today, and it's been popular for a long time. But it's a great, profession to have. And if you're fortunate enough to get into the business and to be able to be in that direction, I think it's an unbelievable career. It's an unbelievable job, job that you can travel and you can meet tons of people throughout, the nation, maybe even the world for that matter, in all different areas and all different sports. So this guest that I have on tonight is a two-time Emmy-winning supervising producer and sports journalist who has worked in docu-reality and nonfiction programming for over 2 decades. She began her entertainment career in front of the camera at age 12 in her hometown of Right in Our Backyard here in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and has since produced highly rated and national and international primetime and daytime shows for ABC, CBS, Fox, MGM, CW, Universal, HGTV, WE, Style and E, and many other entertainment and TV shows across the board. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my special guest tonight, Mrs. Deb Whitcas. How are you, Deb?
Hi guys, how are you? I'm good. How are you?
Well, I had a tongue twister there on your introduction. I think I was almost getting a loss of words. I was like, wow, it's a pretty great resume.
Thank you. No, you were listening, and I was like, wait, I think I missed one on that one. I think I missed CNBC, but it's all good.
Did I miss CNBC? Well,
no, I did when I wrote it. I think so. Not your fault at all. No, it was funny. I was listening. I was like, yeah, that's a lot. I've done a lot, I think, but it's a whirlwind for sure. Well, but thank you for having me on. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us. I think it's going to be a great show and a great hour. Just learning more about you and what you've been able to accomplish, in your career so far, and what you're continuing to accomplish. But we'll get into all that in a little bit, Deb. But first, I want to what I do with all my guests that I bring on. It's very important to have background information on you as a person and family life. Sure. And what was your home life growing up? Where did you grow up? Okay. And all that interesting stuff, and that I feel plays a part in everyone's life, right? Yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself again and tell us where you grew up and what your childhood was like?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Would not want to grow up anywhere else. Had a blast. I come from a very large Irish Italian family like in me. Cherry Hill, right? The Mancevis.
Irish Italian.
And yeah, God, my childhood, I mean, just so great. I basically went to nursery school with some of the same people that I graduated high school with, and are still some of my good friends to this day. My very first friend, I was 3, Christian DeMonsi. He now lives in San Diego. I see him at least once or twice a year. So I think, and Ann Taraki, one of my best friends since I was 5, just got off the phone with her about an hour ago. So, wow. You know what I mean? I try to keep, my friends tight, even though I've traveled all over the US and all over the world and have lived in so many different places, TV producing and sports reporting. Mm-hmm. So, but no, had an amazing childhood, danced, performed, played sports, and was always a huge Phillies fan and an Eagles fan. Go Birds! And would watch the games with my family, and that's how my love of sports kind of came about. And I think it all comes full circle,
Yeah, and growing up in the South Jersey area, and like you said, you're from Cherry Hill. You attended Cherry Hill West High School. I think the South Philly, I'm going to get to in a second, but the South Jersey area has such a strong passion for Philly sports. Mm-hmm. Now I know, I have friends who live in Central Jersey or maybe North Jersey. Okay, they kind of lean more towards the Jets or the Giants, but it seems like, and growing up in the area, that the South Jersey is it's such a big home for Eagles, Phillies, Flyers.
Of course. I literally, and to this day, I still bring, if I live both in LA and I spend a lot of time back in Jersey. I'm actually in New Jersey right now. But every time I pack to come back to Jersey, I make sure I have one Eagles thing and one Phillies thing with me at all times. So
you got to keep something with you from home.
Always. So wherever I go, I always make sure I'm repping. So
yeah. It's funny too, like when I went off to college, and my first year I went up to the Sales University, which is like Allentown, Bethlehem area, which is not too far outside of Philly. But I remember like a lot of what I brought with me. I remember I brought like you said, like some Eagles pillows, or like I think I had an Eagles blanket up there too. Like, and my brother is a diehard Philly sports fan. I mean, to the max. Loves the Sixers, loves the Eagles. Yeah, he'll pay attention to the Phillies and the Flyers, but I think Eagles and the Sixers are like his two favorite. But it's just funny, like, having that South Jersey feel, like you said, like you have to take a part of it with you. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so important.
Yeah. Bleed green for sure.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
you would even be shocked because there's a ton, a bunch of my friends in LA as well. There's different groups that we all, Sports Harbor is a group that is a huge Eagles fans. We're all from the Philadelphia area. We get together. There's like 200 of us all together. We watch the games together. Also South Bay Alliance in Hermosa Beach, California.
Wow.
We watch the games together. We have T-shirts, we have hats, like so.
Yeah.
Shout out to those guys as well. And then I lived in Atlanta for a bit too, and was very welcomed in Atlanta at Atlantadelphia. So there's a bar, Rocky Mountain Pizza, that everyone kind of watches the games there too. So Eagles are everywhere.
Yeah. And so you said you currently live out in LA, is that correct?
I do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what's it like living in the West Coast?
I
Particularly
love
the East
it.
Coast.
Or what's it like in the East Coast or the West Coast?
Well, what's it like in the West Coast? I mean, I know we know the East Coast from experience, but like I've never been
Right.
to the West Coast.
It's, you know what? I feel like the West Coast is the Jersey Shore all of the time.
Really?
Yes. But I love LA. I've lived there for 20 years.
Mhm.
It's you lose track of time actually because it's nice all of the time. You don't have your 4 seasons. You get maybe two. It
Right.
barely rains. It starts raining in October, but you're not going to see rain during the summer. I kind of forgot what mosquitoes were. They don't really exist there. It's just so pretty all of the time.
Right.
I've been there 20 years, so I have a really amazing group of friends that I surround myself with
Mhm.
now. But definitely it was a challenge at first because it's such a transient city, because people come, they try to make it. It's tough. It's a tough place to make it. So, but I've had some great work experiences and have met friends through work and through different activities that I've done. And like I said, I tend to have some surround myself with some great people, but it can be tough. And honestly too, it can be a little bougie.
Yeah.
Like, you've got Rodeo, you've got Beverly Hills, and everyone's trying to always one up each other.
Yeah.
And I find myself coming home and I need to ground myself again. So
Right.
it's like the BMWs don't really matter, this doesn't matter, the Gucci doesn't matter, you know what I mean? So I try to, I come home and just be Deb, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, and like I said, and I wanted to hear from someone who's like obviously that lives all that and experienced all that, because I never. It's one of my places, the destinations I would like to get to is on the West Coast, but like
come on
just
out.
to check it out. Yeah, I have to definitely
I have a
make a
guest
trip.
room.
But yeah, I mean, and it's important. People always say like, the West Coast and the East Coast are they're totally different. Weather's so nice in the West Coast, like 72, 70 degrees and sunny and breezy and no
Mhm.
humidity. And New Jersey gets hot and sticky and the humidity's crazy and 95 degrees feels like 100. So
But
you always for the weather.
here's the funny thing is I would take the Jersey Shore over the California beaches any day of the week. I love Jersey Shore. I grew up there. I'm going to be at Wildwood later on tonight.
There you go.
And maybe Sea Isle. We'll see where I end up. But I would take the Jersey Shore summers over the California beaches. They're just better. I think people value it more because it's not all of the time. Whereas in
Yeah.
California, you can just walk the beach anytime and have a good time. So
Yeah. That's a really good point too. I feel like the beach. I mean, I feel like the beaches, at least for me and for yourself, are just kind of feel like home. Like
yeah.
nothing like the Jersey Shore beaches. And I don't know if this is a correct fact, but I've heard this somewhere that the sand, like on the Jersey Shore, sand is like the purest sand in the world, is
Mhm.
supposedly like
Yep.
the best. You go anywhere else in the world to a beach, and the sand, the texture of it is not as pure
Yep.
and as nice as the Jersey Shore sand.
Well, I was going to bring that up. That's so weird that you brought that up because I didn't want to sound like weird talking about it. But no, that's one of the reasons why, and I'm glad you did, because Jersey Shore sand is very thin and pretty, and it's
Yeah.
a white sand.
Mm-hmm.
California, I feel like sometimes I'm in a sandbox.
Like gravel almost.
It's very, well, not gravel. It's very yellow
Yeah.
and a little more coarse.
Mhm.
And then I spent some time in Connecticut, and I was on the beach, and I was like, "What is this? Like, there's rocks everywhere. What?" I'm very for some reason I look at the sand.
Yeah.
But no, I love the Jersey Shore beaches, but the sand is really, really pretty. It's part of the reason why I like it so much.
Yeah, and I'm sure all of our listeners and viewers will agree with the Jersey Shore and the the home feel that it brings. So we have a few minutes here before we'll get to the break, Deb, and then we'll get back to more into your career and what you've established and where you're at today. But for our listeners, so you grew up in Cherry Hill. You're right here in our backyard, hometown of South Jersey. You went to Cherry Hill West High School. So like what? So just tell our listeners what exactly got you into the field of wanting to be involved in sports. I know you played sports. You said you'd done it all early on, but the actual of sports reporting and sports journalism, what really keyed you in on that? And when you went to college, is that what you took up in college?
So my dad actually played minors for the Phillies. So I grew up kind of at Vet Stadium. We were like, three rows behind home plate.
The old school vet.
Yeah, old school vet. I just showed my age. But the Phillies wives would be behind us, and I'd flirt with the bat boy. And I always, grew up going to Eagles games. But I feel like sports for me was always an escape from Hollywood. So when I went to college, I took up TV producing, mass media, communications, and theater, which kind of catapulted me into reality television. When I first got out of school, I had met Jerry Springer on spring break, and just so happened to ask him for a job. And he hooked me up with an internship coordinator for the show. She had one spot left and was like, if you have enough guts to go up to Jerry Springer on spring break, welcome to the show. So
that is amazing.
Yeah. So I got that and, moved to Chicago right after college. I literally got on a plane 3 days after, missed all my graduation parties, and started with the show as an intern and worked my way up. I got hired like 2 months after, and then was a producer before I left. And then I was there for 3 years. And at this point I was just still doing reality. And then probably, I've had a reality TV background for several years. I'm probably going on 20 years now. And it's just become a lot. And I'm not as, I feel like sports is the best reality show out there.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like reality isn't the reality that I first started in. When I first started in reality TV, it was real situations. And now it's just not, and I'm just not as happy with it as I used to be. The hours are much longer, and I just don't feel like people care as much. So, I had been in Atlanta, and as you know, Atlanta is a huge football town. I mean, dear Lord, everybody plays. And I, just became friends with a bunch of guys who actually, played in college, played in NFL, kind of started following their careers. And then I kind of became obsessed with the entire league of NFL. And college, I kind of, and I found myself working in reality, but researching what was going on in the leagues those days. And I woke up one day and I was like, why am I not doing this for a living? Like I already am a field producer. I'm already an interviewer. I love to interview people and ask questions. So it's like, why can't I do that on the sidelines? So I've been pivoting now for about 2 years. I've been having a blast doing it. So it's been fun. Sports is definitely where I belong and where, I'm focusing my career now.
Now, so obviously from just what you were saying, you could tell that sports plays a huge part in your life. And I do, from your social media and from our conversations prior, I do see that you were able to attend the 2022 NFL draft.
Yep.
So what was your experience about that? Tell us a little bit about that.
It was so fun. Aiden Hutchinson, to see him go up, and, Kenny Pickett. It's actually interesting too, because one of my colleagues was working with NFL and was coordinating the at-home parties. So she was hiring camera crews to be at the houses. So I was kind of getting it from all angles. I was in the media room as the picks were being announced. I got an actual tour of the jersey room and how they make the jerseys. And you guys can see that on my Instagram. It's pretty cool. So that was cool to be there. And just to see the green rooms and where all the draft picks were, to hear the stories after the draft, if everybody went to Dre's. So there was literally 20 tables and all the draft picks and all their families were at Dre's the night after. I was lucky enough to go to Gronk's event too. So Gronk had a Gronk's beach party, super fun. It was good. It was such a great time.
I know Gronk loves the party.
Oh yeah.
he's a big Vegas guy by the pool when he wins the Super Bowl. Yeah, bottles of champagne.
And his whole family was so nice. His brothers also played NFL. Such great guys. Camille's amazing. She's gorgeous. Could not be nicer. It was just a really good time. Everybody was very happy for all of the draft picks, and to see these guys, their dreams come true is special.
That's really remarkable. I mean, too, like being able to see like you said, the reactions of the families, and when the players hear their name called, and they're like, they made it, and they just got drafted to a team. I mean, it's got to be an unbelievable feeling for them, and it's got to be so cool to cover that and just like capture that moment. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's interesting because Ike Ekwonu, I had actually interviewed at Super Bowl, and then when he was picked 6 by the Panthers, that's where he lives. Right. He lives in Charlotte. He went to North Carolina. I mean, he didn't even know what to say. He was in the press conference just kind of like, I cannot believe this is happening right now. So, and I knew he really was very excited, to have his family there, with him to celebrate that moment. And he talked about that at the press conference as well after the draft. So great guy. He's great.
That's awesome. I mean, it's so cool that, and especially like you're meeting these people and everything. It's just like a great atmosphere because you're doing what you love, and then you're getting to meet all these athletes and professionals on top of it, Yeah. So, but Deb, when we get back here from the break, we'll get more into your career and a little bit more of your TV producing and some leagues you cover and some games you covered. Some great people that you've interviewed in your career so far, and people that you're going to interview. So we'll leave it all right here, and we'll see you right back on the Big Man's Report live from Hard Rock Studios on News Talk 1400 and 92.3 WOND. I am your host, Blake Roselle. Do not go anywhere. We will be right back. So we can take a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all recorded.
Okay.
But it's my producer James edits it all out and stuff. So
make me look good, James.
Stepped out for a minute, but he'll be back.
That's funny. Yeah.
Small world, isn't that?
It is. That's scary. I was like, oh my God.
I said, well, he was setting up, and I was just telling him about like you were from Cherry Hill, and where you went to Cherry Hill East, and he was just like, he goes, no way. He goes, I went to West. He goes, what's her name? And then when I signed
that's
I
funny.
to talk. That was cool. Yeah, he's a good guy. He does a great job here, and he's
cool.
He's really talented at what he does. He's
just
super helpful.
He live in Margate too, or
no? He actually lives in Cherry Hill still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he commutes.
So he
from
came
Cherry
down.
Hill here.
Okay.
Yeah, so this station's in Linwood, so you figure like 45 minutes because Cherry Hill's like right outside of Philly. So
in Linwood, where's that?
Down here, it's about 10 minutes over the bridge from Margate, Northfield, Summers Point, Ventnor. It's all right there.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's not far. It's a nice, convenient location. So. All right, so we can whenever you want to go back.
Everything good? I'm like, are we good?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
I think now you're doing great.
Okay, good.
I think it's going really smoothly.
Sweet. It's hard. It's so funny because I've done like so much. It's hard to I don't want to talk too much about one thing and like want to transition into, you know what I mean? So
yeah. No, and like I said, I always like to get a background of
where I came from,
of the guests and all that stuff, and then we like to lead into the career and
certain questions
you're doing. So
cool.
This whole second half, we'll get into that. So
okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'll cue us back in, and then I'm just gonna read off my sponsor, like get welcome us back from the commercial and my sponsor stuff, and then I'll get right back into it.
Cool.
All right. And welcome back here to the Big Man's Report on News Talk 1400 and 92.3 WOND. I am your host, Blake Roselle, here live from Hard Rock Studios. Thank you all for joining us again for the second half of the hour, and especially if you were able to listen to the beginning of my show this evening. We had a great first half of the hour, and if those of you that are just tuning in, we have a great second half of the hour being presented to you just shortly. So before we do, I'd like to, like I always do, take a quick minute to thank my sponsors who make this show possible. Castle Supermarket of Margate for all of your grocery items, baked goods. Check out the deli and all the in-store selections and the best of the best in Margate, New Jersey. Check out Castle Supermarket. Stop in and say hello to my dear friend Howard and tell them that I sent you. Versus Italian Bakery for all your Italian dishes, deli sandwiches, Italian pastries, and bakery. Stop in one of the Versus 3 locations in Turnersville, Brigantine, and Margate. Always the best of the best, fresh daily. The Versus Bakery is also available for catering events, birthday parties, and special occasions. Stop in and see my man Ralph and tell them that I sent you. Blaze Gymnastics Training Academy in South Jersey, All Sports of Northfield. For all gymnastics classes, birthday parties, tumbling, and don't forget South Jersey's All Sports 8,000 square foot all turf line facility for indoor and outdoor sports training. All brand new. You don't want to miss this beautiful attraction. Stop by Mill Road in Northfield and ask for Tracy, or look them up on Facebook for all of their updates and their weekly posts. Thomas C. Roselle, attorney at law. If you get in trouble, contact the law office of Thomas C. Roselle for all of your criminal and municipal court matters. You can find Tom on Facebook and send him a private message regarding your case and anything he can attend to. He'll be there to help you. And now let's get back to the Big Man's Report on News Talk 1400 and 92.3 WOND. I am your host, Blake Roselle. So thank you all that are tuning in again for the second half of the hour. I have a wonderful guest here with me on the program tonight. Great sports journalist and TV producer, and she has so much to talk about in her career. And we're excited to get to that the second half of the hour. So Deb, I'd like to thank you all for coming on again. Deb Whitcas, everyone.
Thank you for having me on. Super excited to be here.
So we were talking about in the first half of the hour, a little bit about your background and where you grew up, being a South Jersey native in Cherry Hill, homeborn.
Go West.
Well, it's funny because I went to St. Augustine Prep, and I remember we used to play Cherry Hill East. Like we used to play Cherry Hill East, Cherry Hill West. And I know that there was always a rival between the two.
Yep. I was about to say West is best, East is least, but
Was that the saying?
I think it still is.
maybe still is. That's funny, but it's cool that when you can share experience, being born in South Jersey, and there's so much to talk about,
Right.
But let's get back to your career and what you're doing in the sports world, industry. So, we talk about, what you've got into sports journalism. Now, what would you say, before we get into some of the events you've done and some of the things that you're continuing to do, what would you say the most important thing about the sports journalism industry is?
Honestly, don't give up. You need to just kind of, get in there. Don't be shy. Say your piece, because there's so many people that want to be you and, want that opportunity to get in. And if you're there, take it. I think networking is a huge thing. I had the opportunity to go down to USFL last weekend and cover the games down there. It was hell getting down to Birmingham, I'm going to be honest, but I did it because I knew it would be such a great, opportunity, and networking opportunity as well.
Right.
And I was super excited for a spring league. Let's be honest. I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm like, I'm
ready to go.
I love the XFL too. I'm excited for them to come back, but USFL, like, let's go. So I, definitely want to cover that. But I feel like you just need to, in the sports world, you need to take every opportunity that is presented to you, because they don't come as often as one would think, and you need to make the best out of every single situation that you can. Like, I hate saying no. Like, James Washington, two-time Super Bowl champion, reached out to me 2 weeks ago and wanted me to film something in LA, and I had to say no because I was coming to Jersey. It was my cousin's graduation, so I couldn't miss it. And obviously family will come first always. So yeah, I was bummed, but he was like, don't worry, there'll be others, there'll be other times. And I was like, okay, please call back. So I'll touch base with them when I go back. And I do cover a lot of the NFL SoCal alum events. So he's the president. So I know there's more to come, but still, it's so hard for me to say no,
Yeah. And like, cause you feel like you say that there's a lot that's thrown your plate and thrown your way within this industry, because there's constantly something to do. And there's constantly new people to talk to interview, however you may, whatever you may say. But like, again, I mean, this kind of business is you're constantly on the go, And I think that's a great word of advice, especially in the sports industry. Like, you can't give up. You know, you got to keep in your position. You kind of have to keep going because it's what drives you, right?
Yep. You're going to hear no.
Yeah.
You know, like in Hollywood, in sports, there's more no's than there are yeses. And so, but you know what? You don't know unless you try.
Right.
And the more you try, the more your name gets out there, you know, the more yeses you're going to get eventually. So it's just like, don't give up, just keep going. That's always been my main thing. And there's been times where I have found, and I've been, you know, I have felt deflated, and I felt, you know, depressed that I didn't get this or something didn't, you know, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this in one more day. And then the next day I get a phone call and it's some amazing opportunity that I was like, thank God I stayed that one more day. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've had that lesson enough.
Yeah. And that's cool too. And like, especially that's another good point. Like, you know, when you're in this kind of industry and you're making your way up and, you know, you're getting the experience over and over again. Right. And you learn something new every day, but like waiting for that, you don't know who's going to contact you next. And like, it could be a name that you've maybe heard of when you were a kid, or maybe somebody you watched on TV and you're like, wait, is this person like really contacting me right now? Like, is this real life? Like, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
You know?
Mark McMillan actually did that to me. You know, Mighty Mouse from the Eagles. I was covering XFL and he just happened to go on my, he just happened to find me, and he reached out to me and I was like, really? Like the Mark McMillan? Like, what? So I was like, hi. And he was like, hey. And he was like, see all the good work you're doing. Like, wanted to say hi. And so, you know, I see Mark a lot now. He actually has a camp coming up that I'm going to promote on my socials. So guys, you can check that out too, Mark's camp.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's in like June, I think. I can look it up. But yeah, like things just happen. The phone just rings, and next thing you know, you have a job, or you have your next sports gig, or you apply for credentials and you're not sure if you're going to get them, and then it goes through, you know, and you get them. Like I've covered 2 Super Bowls now with media credentials. So, but there's been NFL games that I've reached out to that I wanted to cover that they were like, no. But you know what? You take that, and at least you tried. And one day they're going to say yes. So,
yeah, and that's safe to say for really anything too. I mean, like you and anything you're passionate about, you know, you can't just say, oh, well, this is overwhelming, I can't do it anymore. You know, I mean, if you really are truly passionate, like as you said, you take the no's. It's okay. Right. People are going to say no. You know, no doesn't always mean a no, and it's going to be no forever. A no is just this time it didn't work out, but you know, another door could open. Do you know what I mean? So,
and at least they know your name. That's the thing. They've looked you up. They see who you are. It's just not the right opportunity at that time. And I think timing has a lot to do with it as well. Yeah,
being the right place, the right time is huge. I agree with that. So I mean, I see. You know, we talked about in the past, like a lot of these national, international primetime shows that you were able to do work for. So like, why don't you tell about some of your experiences on ABC, CSNBC, Fox, CBS Sports, and all that for our listeners.
Sure. I started at Jerry Springer, and that was crazy. I
still think that's awesome that you ran into Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
And he said, all right, I wanted to bring you on my show.
And I still talk
amazing.
I still talk to some of my co-producers from that show, you know, still great people, great producers. God, I've done so much in reality TV between Dr. Drew. I've worked with Mario Lopez. I've done makeover shows, wedding shows. My most recent, I'm actually working with Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe right now.
Yeah,
he's great.
I remember you were telling me about that. That's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And then my gig before that, I was with Steve Harvey, and he judged Steve Harvey, the primetime show on CBS. So that was, you know, a great time too, because Steve Harvey is just so unbelievably funny. I literally was editing the show and I fell off my chair on one time. I was laughing so hard. So, but I've done a lot in reality. I've worked with Dr. Phil for years.
How was that with Dr. Phil?
Good. I mean, he's tough. I mean? Like, but I mean, the show's super successful. I still am friends with a bunch of those producers as well. I worked on The Doctors on and off for several years. Great people there as well. What else? Paternity Court, Judge Lauren Lake. great. I tend to specialize in court shows. I don't know why. I did horrible in law in college, but, but as a TV producer, apparently that's my niche. But trying to think of what else. And then Lucky Dog on CBS, Brandon McMillan was hosting. We won an Emmy for that. And then, so that was exciting, winning my first Emmy I'm a huge rescue dog girl as well, a rescue animal girl. Right. And so I'm a foster parent for animals. And so that was special to win an Emmy for doing a great show that involves rescue. But, and then sports, I was doing a show, it was called Crush House. Okay. With Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback and ESPN analyst, and Rick Mahorn, Mr. Bad Boy, 76ers, and then comedian Frank Nicotero. So that's been my most recent kind of an online digital show that I was on. And now I've just been freelancing.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, all your work's out there too, like you said, on your socials, and everyone can see what you're doing. So it makes your platform easy to access and for people to contact you. Yeah. It's great being in that world.
Yeah, at Sport Report Deb. So everything's out there. So any of my interviews that I've done, it's all posted.
So obviously, from your resume, you're very talented at what you do, and you do a great job. So what do you, if you had to say, I mean, do you like, if you're leaning towards one or the other, the TV producing or the sports journalism? If I were to take a pick, I would probably say sports journalism, but I could be wrong. What do you?
Yeah. No, I'm definitely going for the sports journalism. I love reality TV, but I'm definitely trying to pivot out of it. And I'm doing it to pay the bills, because the bills are not cheap.
Especially nowadays.
So, right. But and I don't think I'm ever going to completely leave producing.
Yeah.
I think I think it only makes me a better sports reporter. Right. Because I know what to get. I know the content that I need to get while I'm on camera, what I'm interviewing, what these guys are saying content wise. So, and I kind of can edit myself too. So I think I can take what I've, learned and done as a producer and put it towards sports reporting and sports journalism as well.
And that's such a great point, being behind the scenes with all that too. I mean, you're able to just kind of what you're producing, you're able to almost kind of put into to words. It's going to help you in that sports career, like you said, and just from looking at some of your work, you do have that personality that is great for TV, TV reporting, and you're very energetic about it. You're passionate
because I love it.
Yeah. And again, like you love something, you can just tell that, that's what you really enjoy, and that's amazing.
Yeah. And I also love, obviously I love the X's and O's of it all. And I love how fast everything changes in sports. And there's so many different storylines in each game all over the board. But I also like to talk about the athletes as people, just because I come from a lifestyle background, like a Dr. Phil, like a Dr. Drew, and I'm used to doing those type of interviews as well. So I kind of can get to the heart of people. And I love athletes because of that. And they're so passionate and they block out everything. Right. Like Bill Belichick, all he thinks about is football. I've not interviewed him yet. He's on my bucket list.
That'd be a great one.
But
that'd be a good one.
Yeah. So they're just so laser focused sometimes, but they're also, like I said, they also have their charities and the things that they care about.
Yeah.
So I like to talk about those types of things too, like what makes athletes tick as well off of the field. So I kind of consider myself the reporter who gets the story in between the X's and O's, is what I say.
Yeah, and again, that's also really important because you see the lives of these athletes that's outside, the basketball court or the football field or the ice rink or the baseball field, because they're human too.
They're human.
Yeah. And it's amazing, like when you see, again, what they're giving back to the kids, or if it's, for a great cause, and you see the commercials and all that stuff. It's a really nice thing to see that, in society, especially like being a viewer of, or a lover of sports, and watching them do that to our, for our kids or for our people that are in need is amazing, and it goes such a long way. And it just feeds into the whole sports world. And I think it's amazing personally.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I wouldn't be willing to do anything else that what I'm doing right now. So
So who would you say your so far in your career, who is your favorite person that you were able to speak to or interview or you had behind the mic?
oh, okay. So are we doing sports? Or are we doing regular? Are we doing
It could be
just
whatever.
anybody?
It could be anybody, or you could say one from the sports industry, one from the
Okay.
TV producing.
So I'm gonna say one from the TV producing first. Danny Bonaducci.
Okay.
Um, and please prayers for Danny. I'm friends with the family as well,
Yeah.
and he's has some type of illness right now that everyone's trying to figure out what it is. So please prayers for Danny. He's a great man. He's one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. He was just so open and so interesting and so smart.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just I could have sat there and talked to him for hours. It wasn't even like a camera was on me. I didn't care.
Yeah.
So, and as far as sports, I'd have to go. Rod Woodson is awesome. I've interviewed him twice. Great man. Talked a lot about the Steelers. I mean, he's such an amazing football player.
Yeah.
And I think Rick Mahorn's a hoot. Like that man. Every time I say his name, I smile because
I know when you mentioned it earlier, you had to
I
chuckle.
lit up.
Yeah.
He's just funny. Again, amazing basketball player.
Oh yeah.
Used to have Mahorns off of 70 in Cherry Hill.
Mm-hmm.
So when we found out that Cherry Hill connection, we were talking about that. I was super young then, so I remember it, but I was like, oh my God, wait, you had Mahorns, you own that. He's like, yeah, I had a little nightclub. I was like, oh, Mahorns. But I mean, Ron Jaworski, Terrell Owens, God.
Ron Jaworski does a lot down in the South Jersey area.
He does.
He's active down here a lot.
He's got a golf tournament every year too.
Yes.
That I was actually supposed to cover last year, and I wound up at the Jersey Shore with my family. But
and I don't know if you've ever had any, if you were a part of this or if you had interest in this. I know that Michael Jordan does his big fishing tournament down here in Atlantic City.
Oh, really?
Summer. Yeah.
Oh, I would love that.
So
that would be fun.
It's like, I think last year he came, it may have been the end of June, early July, the Michael Jordan fish tournament. And he actually ate at one of the most popular restaurants in Margate and probably throughout the state. Stephen Cookies, which was right down the street from where I live. And I remember he was there and there was all media outside taking pictures of him. Yeah. He had a cigar and he was leaving dinner and everyone's like, oh my God, Michael Jordan, So
again, human though.
Yeah.
He eats. I'm sure he likes seafood.
Oh yeah. He's a very laid back guy, Michael Jordan. He just, I mean, he was a hell of a competitor and fierce in his day. Yeah. And now he's just kind of living their retired life, just kind of behind the scenes. He loves to fish. He loves boating and he loves cigars.
You know who was another favorite interview of mine? Eddie George.
Okay.
From Titans. He was a blast. He was from Philly as well, originally. Right. When I met him, he was wearing a Philadelphia shirt. And I was like, wait a minute. And he showed me how to Heisman pose. So that was fun. And his wife's a Broadway star. So I've come from a dance background and we had a nice discussion about that, along with football, of course. So
it's amazing. So again, you've met so many people so far in this industry and you're going to meet, I'm sure, many, many others. So
hopefully,
yes, I think you will. So what are some other projects you have planned, if you're allowed to say, or some other things that you're doing so far in the next couple of months that you're going to be doing for some, filming work for the sports, the TV producing,
sure.
Some other things you have coming up?
Sure. For with sports, right now I have some things with NFL Alumni Association, SoCal on the calendar for coming up. Planning to be with the XFL. They have a kickers seminar that they just announced in October, with a little bit or September. Anyway, it's coming up. And I'm hoping to get to some training camps with NFL this summer, and just to see what else. Like I said, the phone could ring tomorrow when I have something. So
yeah, you never know.
But I'm always looking for opportunities. I was thinking Harrison Hand's doing a camp actually at Cherry Hill West on June 18th.
Oh, wow.
It's a Saturday, so I don't know
Yes.
if that's the 17th or 18th. But so I was thinking about if I could stick around for that, I might be able to cover that as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that's coming up for that. Right now, I'm actually developing a sports show myself with a friend of mine who is an HGTV host. Her name is Shay Holland. So her and I are working together to do sort of a sports and home renovation show, which will
Oh,
be a little
wow.
different. And we're getting that pitched together and about to bring it out into the world. So we'll see how that
That's
goes.
awesome.
And then as far as reality, I'm doing like I said, Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, who's amazing, and also going to be finishing that up in a little bit. And then switching. Last year I worked for Money Court.
Okay.
It's a show. It's a CNBC show with
Yeah.
Kevin O'Leary,
Hmm.
and I don't know if I can announce who's with him yet, but the co-hosts have changed, and there is a well-known female star who will be.
So we shall stay tuned for that.
Yes, I don't think that's been announced yet, so
Yes.
I don't think I can say
that
it.
on the low.
But no. So Kevin O'Leary will be returning with Money Court
Yeah.
for a second season. So
How's working with Mike Rowe and Dirty Jobs?
He's awesome.
That'd be great.
This next, you guys have to tune in the next season. The next season is so much fun. He just he just is in these disgusting situations, and literally, yeah, it's. I don't even know. I don't know if I can talk about the content. I don't know what I can talk about.
Yeah.
But there is.
You talk a little bit about him, just as
he's great. I mean, he's a nice guy. He's super professional, super funny, great on camera. He obviously comes from, the PBC background, and he's not scared to say anything. And we have the same type of humor. So I appreciate when things just come out of his mouth and you're like, I cannot believe he just said that. And I love that. So
that's so funny.
So yeah, but
well,
they work their butts off.
Yeah. I mean, and again, and rightfully so, the people in this industry, I mean, it's constant work day in and day out to get where they are today. And as you know, you're a very hard worker yourself and where you're at today, but it takes a grind, it takes work, but I think the payoff is well worth it, as you could say. You could agree with me.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. And, sometimes my family and, my boyfriend's like, slow down, but I can't. But they also know that I've been a hustler since I was 12. So I struggle with the word no. So, because I don't like to hear no either. So, I try to get as many yeses as I can and take as many opportunities as I can.
Well, I mean, and hats off to you. And it's a great way to put it. I can't believe this hour has gone so fast, Deb.
What happened?
What happened? we started talking about sports and dirty jobs, and now the hour's already over.
It's crazy.
But before we go here, and again, I do want to thank you for coming on tonight. Before we end tonight, what is one piece of advice you give to anyone that's maybe, looking to get into the sports world? I mean, what would you, besides, I know, don't give up, work hard. I mean, what is maybe some other things that you would kind of direct them to?
I mean, there's some, like, I just decided to, I had some friends in the league, and that's how I kind of decided to go there. Honestly, just start as a fan and put yourself in sports situations, and talk to people while you're there. That's just kind of what I did. And then I did some research online and found some, some sport conferences that were around my area, or I could get to easily, and I networked there. I think honestly, going to school, taking a class for sports is great. I actually just did that. I went back and took a sports broadcasting class, just because I didn't when I went to college, there was no sports broadcasting minor or major. It was just communications. So I went back and actually got a concentration in sports broadcasting. So I think, and they took a look at my resume, and they kind of helped me focus it towards sports. And when that happened, I got a phone call within like a day or two. So, so I think that's important too, is to get your resume the right way to what you want to do in sports. And then, and then just look for, places that you, like I said, camps, like Harrison Hand's having a camp, like get yourself there. You know what I mean? Like reach out to people. That's the one thing about sports is everyone has been so welcoming. And I wasn't used to that with Hollywood. With Hollywood, I have clawed my way to where I am. But with sports, I feel like everyone is very accommodating and everybody wants to help you.
Yeah.
So just don't be scared, and just, like I said, all they can say is no, and then you try again.
So be open-minded, be open, be
Mhm.
willing to learn, take advice
Mhm.
from other people, and just kind of just keep rolling with it, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
well, Deb, I do want to thank you again for coming on the program tonight, and I
Thank
would
you
love
for
to have
having
you
me.
back on in a couple
Yeah.
weeks or whenever we have some
Yeah.
time.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. We'll do all the behind the scenes scheduling, and we'll get you on here again.
Right. And
Maybe this time in live.
happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. I mean, this is the
Yeah.
weekend we all live for here in Jersey.
I know.
So,
We live by the weekends. We can't wait for Memorial Day. We can't wait for July 4th. And then we're sad when
Yep.
Labor Day comes.
Yep. It's pretty much the rule there. So,
Well, thank you again, Deb.
cool.
Have a wonderful weekend. And
Thank
to
you.
all my listeners, thank you for tuning in tonight on the Big Man's Report, live here from Hard Rock Studios on News Talk 1400 and 92.3 WOND. I am your host of the Big Man's Report, Blake Roselle. Tune in next week for a very, very big guest that will be live in studio next Saturday, June 4th, I believe. And you will not want to miss this interview. This will be a great one. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for all my advertisements going forward with that on my media page on the Big Man's Report _live and Blake Roselle on Facebook. And Deb, before we go here, for our listeners, tell them where they can reach you on your socials as well.
Sure. For IG, it's at Sport Report Deb. Also Twitter at Sport Report Deb. And then Facebook is Deborah J. Whitcas. So I think that's, and LinkedIn, Deborah Whitcas as well.
You're all over.
I'm a little bit of everywhere.
Look you up on Google. You're on the IMDb page.
Right. So,
well, everyone have a great weekend, and thank you again, Deb. And tune in next week and enjoy the beautiful weather the rest of this weekend. I am here on the Big Man's Report. I am your host, Blake Roselle. See you all next week.
Bye, guys.